Hey y'all, we're starting up here on the title screen because now that we have married, we can do newlywed mode, which looks like unlike Rune Factory 4 and 5, you can go ahead and select whichever one you want from the start instead of having to marry each one individually. Oh, that's a view background, okay. Let's also go on and check out the other episode for Karuna.
Chocolate cake. I am Karuna, the elder of our settlement. Recently, I had the good fortune to marry the one I love. Thus, I now find myself with two roles to fulfill, that of an elder and that of a wife. I can't say this was something I foresaw happening. I never envisioned myself getting married at all, let alone to a human.
Half human, thank you very much. Yeah, this is gonna be the other another episode's thing, so no real Rune Factorying today.
The new and unusual have been my constant companions in recent days. Perhaps that makes this a good opportunity to expand my horizons. I gave it some thought, but... well, I've lived for quite some time now, and I've done many things. It wasn't that simple to come up with something entirely new. I went to him for some advice, to which he replied, "Why not try out something you like?" On the topic of things I like, he's the first to pop to mind by a significant margin. But beyond that... sweets, perhaps? Sweets are wonderfully beneficial. They're tasty, they help relieve fatigue, both physical and mental. Most of all, eating them makes me feel happy. Oh, to spend an entire day in a sweet shop, eating as much dessert as I want. That sounds divine. With that, my mind was made up. My two favorite things in the world were sweets and him. That was indisputable fact. So why not put both together? I could bake every sweet under the sun for him. It would be a challenge, but the idea had merit. He'd be pleased about a gift from me, which would make me happy. On top of that, we'd get sweets. What could be better? That then begged the question, what treat would I begin this new experience with?
I mean, I did give you like 40 hot chocolates, so you can start with that.
There's really no question, I suppose. The very first thing that came to mind was something that he often made for me. Chocolate cake.
No, I often made you hot chocolate.
Oh, the flavor. Oh, the texture. It simply dominated the top of my favorite sweets list. I knew it well, and even better for my purposes, he probably had a recipe for it. Yes, I would make chocolate cake. Decision made, I decisively jumped into action. Borrowing a recipe from him, I began my cake-making challenge. Preparation is the key to success. I began by carefully studying the recipe that I borrowed. This, is more complicated than I expected.
Probably, I would imagine this particular cake might be like a gateau or German chocolate where you need to whip egg whites and temper egg yolks.
I stared at the long list of ingredients and finely detailed steps. This was going to be a greater hurdle than I had anticipated. I'd gone into this plan believing all that was necessary was to add chocolate to a standard cake mix.
I mean, that's certainly one way you could do it, but to make a really good chocolate cake, it's a pretty involved thing.
No, I can handle this. I simply need follow the instructions exactly as written. That's the purpose of a recipe, after all.
Exactly. And that's something that I've brought up multiple times to several people. Anybody, and I mean anybody, is able to cook. All you have to do is just get a recipe and follow it. make mistakes and experiments around, but as long as you generally follow the recipe, it'll come out good.
I shook my head. It was no use wallowing in defeatist thoughts. With a deep breath, I began to bake. Wow, this much sugar? Truly? What exactly is room temperature? And what type of room?
Room temperature is the temperature in which the room you are in. Most likely talking about butter, so just leave butter until it's softened.
On a scale of roughness, what does roughly combine equate to?
Just incorporates until there's no dry clumps left.
Regrettably, my utter lack of baking experience quickly proved a significant hurdle. All of the unfamiliar terms made for excruciatingly slow going. But I'd known this would be a challenge going in. I persevered. That I was able to see it through to the end was in no small part due to his clearly written recipe. It's done. The monstrosity that emerged from the oven in no way looked anything like the cakes he had baked for me.
I mean, you always gotta start somewhere, and it still doesn't look that bad.
You could tell by the simple fact that it was difficult to discern whether the cake was chocolate or just burnt. Not only that, I was already exhausted after making just this one cake. How would I manage an entire buffet of sweets? Had this dessert always been this intensive? And he baked it for me all the time?
Again, no, I baked you hot chocolate.
What an utter buffoon I was, unthinkingly gobbling it down without sparing a thought for the effort he must have put into it. My shame was overwhelming. I stared at the cake I'd worked so hard to bake, trying to keep myself from drowning in terrible ineptitude. Right then,
I'm home! I smell something sweet.
he returned. Welcome home. As I walked over to greet him, my resolve hardened. I had baked this cake, so now I would have to line it. I thought I'd try my hand at baking a chocolate cake. Care to give it a taste? I placed the misshapen lump of chocolate, possibly burnt, cake in front of him. May I have your opinion on it? Gathering my nerves, I dared to ask him the ultimate question after he ate a few bites.
It's delicious.
He cheerily answered with a smile. I hadn't expected to hear otherwise. He was magnanimous to a fault sometimes. I could have placed a lump of coal in front of him, called it cake, and he would have said the same thing. But the truth was the truth. There's no need to sugarcoat it. I know this sorry excuse for a cake is nothing like what you always make for me.
And it doesn't have to be.
I grew more depressed with every word I spoke. Only now that I tried baking one for myself do I realize how much work you must go through to make them for me.
I mean, it's just a matter of selecting it from the menu and just having the right ingredients, but...
Not once did I consider the amount of effort you exuded. And when I finally decide to put my own effort into it, this is what I got.
To which again I say, everyone's gotta start somewhere.
My chin sank, and my voice grew quieter and quieter. But he reached over and patted me gently on the hand.
You baked this for me, Kurana. That alone makes it the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life.
The simplest things can make me happy. All it took was him saying that to make me feel like all had been forgiven. Besides, this was the first time I'd tackled a new, very challenging project. Of course it wouldn't turn out perfectly.
Exactly.
That fundamental truth had slipped my mind, and instead I had resorted to immature whining and complaining. Instead, what I ought to be was calm and collected. I drew myself back up and declared, "The next one I bake will be much improved." I even tried on a confident grin. I have to say, I made a pretty dashing picture, all told. He smiled and replied, "I can't wait to taste it." Yes, the next cake I baked would far eclipse this paltry first attempt. And someday, every one I made would be even better than the ones he made for me. I was the settlement elder, after all. And his wife. If it was for him, task would be an easy task indeed.
I particularly like this corner piece. It's crispy with just a hint of bittersweet. It's a mature, complex flavor.
That's the burnt corner. Though I would require a lot of practice first. The end.
Now, as someone who's been cooking for the latter part of around 20 years now, one of the best tips I can give any aspiring chef at the moment is learn how to discern doneness through both sight and smell. Cause, as an example with the chocolate cake, darker things become much more difficult to discern if they are done or not. But it's a lot easier to discern doneness through smell when it comes to darker things. And just if you can figure out the nuances of how of the different levels of doneness based on smell and sight, you'll find baking substantially easier. Well, Marianne.
The truth potion. Ah, the bliss of newlywed life.
Stop spiking my food.
Ever since our wedding, our days have been overflowing with love.
Stop spiking my food.
I'm off, Marion.
Very well. Have fun.
Oh, and have I told you you're beautiful yet today?
Oh, you. When you say that, it makes me want to make special potions just for you. So, here.
Stop spiking my food.
Huh? Oh, I'm not sure I need one.
Oh, come on. Don't be shy. Take it. Have fun at work. Our routine ran like this every morning. Saccharine looks, saccharine banter. Peaceful, loving days one after another. Almost too peaceful, really. Personally, I had expected newlywed life to have a little more excitement to it. All of the romance novels I pored over for reference ahead of time had indicated that drama was a staple aspect of marriage, a constant even.
I mean, actually, yeah, it kind of is. That's one of the things that a lot of people seem to fail to realize. When it comes to relationships, the ones that are really meant to work out are the ones that go through the same exact shit as every other relationship, but y'all persevere. There is going to always be drama. And if you say there isn't, you're lying.
Okay, I'll admit we had our fair share of issues before we got married. Now, though, totally the opposite. Every day is nice and quiet. Wait, what if he's hiding some kind of secret from me?
Yes, you caught me. I'm sneaking out to pork the burnt cake that Rune made for me.
And it's because he wants to keep that secret that he can say, I'm beautiful and he loves me like it's the easiest thing in the world. No wonder he showers me with compliments every day. I can't just sit back and twiddle my thumbs. Not still call myself a witch. Now that I know what's up, I have to expose his nefarious secret. So, I get serious. Displaying genius-level talent and focus, I research, develop, and complete a brand new potion that very same day. I dub it my Speak the Truth and Nothing But the Truth potion.
Yeah. It's not exactly necessary, considering if I am anything to a fault, it would be blunt. I just don't see the point in lying or beating around the bush.
Well, the verbal name can come later. Anyway, the important part is now everything he says is guaranteed to be the truth. It'd be more expedient to make it an injection and just give him a quick old jab. But I want to keep this secret. I decided
decided to lace his dinner with it instead.
Stop spiking my food.
Tonight's dinner is going to be exciting. That evening...
I'm full. Thanks for the amazing dinner.
I made sure to thoroughly lace his dinner with my new potion. And, as always, he ate every last bite. So, this ought to work perfectly.
Stop spiking my food.
Any moment now. Time to see how potent it is. Hey! Do you like me?
Huh? Where'd that question come from?
He blinked at my sudden question, seeming surprised. But he wouldn't be able to hide forever. My potion is too effective for that. Just go with it, okay? Answer. You like me?
Yeah, of course. I like you a whole lot.
Strange. His responses are the same as usual. Maybe I chose the wrong question. Thinking about it, like usually covers a whole range of emotions. We'll have to switch things up. This will be difficult to say out loud. But there's nothing for it. Alright then. Do you, love me? Oh, jeez! My face felt like it was on fire! I was so embarrassed! But I got him now! There's no weaseling out of that question!
This is a weird game of 20 questions you've started.
Again, with an attempt at a dodge. But that won't last forever. Speak! Expose the secret you've kept hidden all this time!
I love you more than anyone in the whole world.
Oh, dang it! The words popped out of his mouth so naturally I couldn't stop myself from yelping. Still, there is definitely something wrong here. How can he say such embarrassingly sappy words with impunity? Is it possible my potion doesn't work?
I'll tell you. It is that special combination of obliviously dense and over-the-top blunt.
Just a moment! With that possibility in the forefront of my mind, I got up from the table and went to the kitchen, where I left the remainder of the concoction. I really ought to have tested it on another of my subjects, Colette perhaps, first, but time was of the essence.
Stop abusing poor Colette.
Now, let's see if it really is a dud or not.
Marion?
He followed me into the kitchen, poking his head in mere moments after I found the potion.
What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?
Oh, I hadn't anticipated that, but it was too late now. I opened my mouth to say it was nothing, but totally different words came out. I just drank a new potion I brewed today.
You made something new? So you are feeling under the weather.
Nope, I'm in perfect health. What the heck? It works perfectly.
Then why the potion?
Because I laced your dinner with it and it didn't appear to be working at all. As such, I felt it necessary to test its efficacy myself. What the heck am I doing, blabbing everything? Still, my potion works exactly as I intended. I knew I was a genius.
Oh, okay. But why?
Well, you keep saying things like I love you and you're beautiful, like it's the easiest thing ever. I've never felt this loved before and found myself feeling insecure. So I brewed a potion that makes people speak nothing but the truth. I found it! Bury me in a hole and seal it up forever! How utterly embarrassing! Was I really thinking that stuff somewhere in a corner of my heart?
Yeah, apparently so.
Ugh, I really done it this time. I'm sure he has to be flabbergasted with me now.
Stop spiking my food.
I slowly made myself look up at his face, and I knew it. His jaw was dangling open in shock. But he quickly snapped it shut, his lips quirking up in a big smile.
How do you keep getting even more cute?
He stepped forward and wrapped me up in a hug. My face was aflame.
If words aren't enough, how about something like this?
And he dropped a kiss on my lips. This is not how I expected this to go. I love you too. The words placed themselves on my tongue without conscious thought.
How much?
more than anyone in the world. I was so mortified it was getting hard to think. Were those words pushed out by the potion, or did I really want to say them on my own? But looking at that happy smile on his face, I'm glad that I got them out in the open, even if I did want to die of embarrassment.
Hey, Marion, do you love me?
Yes, of course I do.
What about me do you love?
Everything, dang it! Of course it's everything! His smile widened. The barrage of questions began, and I had no choice but to tell the truth. All my most embarrassing feelings that I usually couldn't bring myself to say popped out, one after another. Jeez, I really stepped in it this time. How could I do something this foolish? When the heck does this dang potion wear off?
Never.
The end.
Speaking of poor Colette,
Seasoned with love.
more cooking?
Everyone knows I love food. I want to become the greatest chef ever, after all. I know all the best restaurants, what appetizer to pair with each main dish. Working with and eating food is one of my favorite ways to pass the time.
It's not a bad way to pass the time. Gotta be careful of that, waistline, though.
Marriage kicked things up a notch because my husband is an incredible guy and an incredible cook. No, for real. The food he cooks is, oh my gosh, so heavenly. Every day he surprises me with the yummiest, most delicious meals. Then one day, I pulled out a favorite skirt I hadn't worn in a while. It was too tight. I couldn't close the button. I stared at myself in the mirror. I still looked just as cute as always. But there was no denying it. It wasn't the skirt that had changed size. Well, you're getting older, I told myself. Your metabolism's slowing down. But in my heart, I knew there was more to it than that.
Did you know your whole face lights up when you eat something delicious, Colette? It's so adorable.
Well, duh. When the food is this good, of course I'm gonna grin while eating it. No one had worked so hard to please me before. He made me feel special. It all looked amazing. So yeah, I was probably eating twice as much as before I got married. How could I not? I get a never-ending supply of yummy dishes cooked just for me.
Oh, I could just make high-protein, low-carb foods.
But then, he said the weather's been so nice that the two of us should go swimming together sometime. That means I'll have to wear a swimsuit. But the one I have might not even fit right now. Oh, it looks so good on me. He gave me the confidence I needed for a day at the beach with the other girls in town. Sure, I could show up in something else. Everyone would look great, as usual. And I'm sure I'd fit in okay. Without that swimsuit. No, I won't let that happen. I just had to stop at one helping. No seconds. I could do that much, right?
What? Finished already? Good thing I made tons.
No thanks. I'm full. Must resist seconds.
How about a morning snack?
No, that's okay. I'm good, really. Oh boy, did the chocolate he was holding look yummy. I had to be strong. Think of beach day.
Hey, Colette, I made pancakes. Want some?
No, thanks. I'm not that hungry. Not pancakes. The sweet scent of honey and butter overwhelmed my senses.
Yeah, there was a thing I was watching on the Food Network a few years back, and I guess to be more accurate was I flipped onto it because there was nothing else on, and flipped off almost instantly because I don't remember what the show was called, but the host of it was going around and doing blind taste tests with random people in public. This particular one was taste testing maple syrup and the saccharine sweet sugar syrup that you put on pancakes, and then asking which people prefer. Most people pointed to the sugar syrup, because, you know, that's what we're used to, that's what we like. And after the test was done, the dude came up on screen and just basically went, as you can see, 90% of people can't even tell the difference between maple syrup and sugar syrup. And my immediate first thought is, no, you fucking dumbass. You ask them which you prefer, not which do you think is maple syrup. Because maple syrup is incredibly easy to tell the difference of between that and, say, great value syrup, butter flavored syrup or what have you. Like, any idiot and their mother can tell the difference, but that's not the question you asked them. I'm not watching your dumb ass anymore. Click.
Is something wrong? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be? Worry was plain in his voice. You could tell I wasn't being honest with him. I'm fine. My heart might strongly disagree at the moment, but I really didn't need to eat more. Ugh, why did he have to be such a good cook?
Years of practice.
You sure? You aren't sick or anything, are you?
Nope, I'm fine, really. I ripped my eyes away from the devilish stack and quickly left the room. This must be what they mean when they say something is gut-wrenching. And then, dinner time. Finally! Today has been the longest day of my life. Resisting the temptation to eat every last bite of my husband's incredible dishes is harder than I thought. But all that was left was dinner, and that was it. If I could control myself for one day, I could do it for another. I just had to eat what was on the plate and stop, no matter how enticing seconds sounded. I hadn't done much of anything all day, and yet I felt exhausted as I dragged myself to the table. Now, what were we having?
Here you go, Colette.
Grinning from ear to ear, he plunked a heaping plate on the table in front of me.
It's curry, your favorite.
Curry, made with his love just for me. A mountain of fluffy white rice, a lake of dark, glistening curry sauce, that spicy, savory aroma. Oh, it was glorious. Cleaning my plate would be a good deed done, commending the triumph that was this dish. My eyes grew round as the curry beckoned. Go on, just take a bite, then another, and another. I can't! It's too much! That was it! I couldn't take it anymore. My restraint snapped. Before I knew it, I'd started bawling. He stared at me, baffled.
You barely touched your food all day, so I figured something must be bothering you. I thought a new recipe would cheer you up.
Not only was curry my most favorite dish ever, it was also stuffed full of his kindness. Confused and lost, the tears rolled out of me even faster. How can you be so mean?
Qu'est-ce que ça?
Huh? You're mad at me?
Yes, I am. And I can't believe you were so super insensitive as to make curry. Every time I see your food, it makes me want to eat and eat and eat. I feel like a balloon.
Really? You look perfect to me.
He gazed into my eyes as he wiped my tears away. But we're going to go swimming. I'll have to wear a swimsuit. What if the one I have doesn't fit?
You can always just buy a new one.
His eyes went wide as I finally blurted out every insecurity I'd been feeling since that morning. Then he reached out and gently took my hand.
Hey, don't worry about it. As long as you're having fun at the beach, what you're wearing doesn't matter, right?
Also, we can always just buy a new one.
You're always adorable to me. And nothing beats the glow on your face when you're enjoying a new dish.
He glanced over at my plate of curry.
My favorite sight hasn't happened yet today, and I really miss seeing it.
My tummy grumbled and growled like a dragon. Right now, I think both my eyes and my stomach are telling me to eat until I'm rounder than a beach ball.
Oblong, square, or triangle, your shape doesn't matter. I just want you to be healthy and happy.
With the sound of his laugh, all my worries melt. Okay, let me try out your latest masterpiece. I picked up my spoon and dug into the rice and curry. Ooh, are
Are these vegetables fresh from our garden? I took a giant bite of happiness.
Delicious.
Yeah, it was foolish of me to try to restrain myself. Now that I think about it, letting yourself go hungry is bad for your health too.
It is indeed.
So good! I'm the luckiest the two of us ate and laughed together just like always. And so, another day came to a close with me feeling full and happy. As for the swimsuit thing, well, I'll worry about that later. The end.
Carmen Electra.
A rare catch. You know what our marriage is like? A fish pulled straight from the water, fresh and full of energy.
So, panicking and pretty sure you're gonna die then? Yeah, sounds about right.
You still remember what it was like to be dating like it was yesterday. 'Cause, well, it practically was yesterday. Heck, we're even going on a date this next weekend. This time, I thought maybe I'd get dressed up all fancy for once and show him a new side of me. So I switched it up and got a real pretty outfit ready for our date. Hey, come on! Even I can shine like a glitter snapper sometimes. Everyone has at least one or two outfits set aside for special occasions. I just don't wear them much, okay? I'm usually out getting muddy by the river, or, well, getting muddy by the ocean. But, whew, this does make me feel a little red in the cheeks. I tried on one of the outfits, but one look in the mirror was almost more than I could take. Oh, so embarrassing. The reflection staring back at me was like a totally different person. A really rosy-cheeked, normal girl. The kind of girl you definitely wouldn't see running around, jumping in rivers, and going fishing. But this was my dress to impress outfit, you know? I probably shouldn't do what I normally do. I might get it dirty. Still, wow, did this thing really make me feel like a fish out of water. The day of our date arrived. I put on the fancy outfit I picked out and twirled a bit for him. He looked ecstatic.
Wow, you're a knockout in that, Carmen. Super cute.
He didn't even hesitate for a second. An easy smile ready on his face. I'm glad you like it. His compliment had me floating on cloud 9. But, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, didn't that compliment roll off his tongue a little too easy? Like he was only saying it to be nice and he didn't really think I looked that cute.
You ladies need to stop being insecure. I know, it's not gonna happen, it's human nature.
Suddenly curious, I snuck a glance over at him. Oh, so the outfit did have an effect after all. I saw a very, very satisfying pink hue high in his cheeks. Boy, am I really glad I decided to wear this outfit. The two of us walked together to our destination, a little spot by the lakeside. Our plan was to have a leisurely picnic lunch. Oh, man, how awesome is the weather today?
Yeah, you can see for miles.
By the time we got there, our jitters had vanished and we were as thick as thieves again.
You know, you made me kind of nervous when I saw you wearing that nice outfit. It's not anything like the usual for you.
Come on now. Even I'll dress up nice sometimes. Heck, we were relaxed enough to start ribbing each other. But right then, I heard a sharp splash from the lake. Wait, I recognized that splash. I whirled around to catch sight of scales glittering in the sun. I knew it. A fish had jumped. But not just any old fish. A throbby snapper!
I prefer calling them trophy snappers.
I shouted, my angler spirit flaring at the sight of such a rare fish.
I've got like 4 of them. I think no. Maybe.
He smiled at me, shaking his head and said, "You might be a fish out of water,
but it seems you're still a fish.
Seeing a throbby snapper reminds me of what happened with Carlos.
Me too. All that fuss my dummy of a big brother kicked up. When the two of us started dating, Carlos was like, "Catch me 2 throbby snappers, I'm not letting you date my sister."
I mean, I got 2 throwby snappers in my fridge.
And catching throbby snappers isn't exactly a walk in the park either. Stupid Carlos.
Yeah, it really isn't. The only way I can realistically catch any of those big fish is by pause buffering.
Yeah, all of my fishing skill was put to the test, but somehow I pulled it off.
He laughed it off now, but Carlos sure did end up eating his words back then. Finding and managing to catch just one of them is no joke, but he brought home 2. I'd say that's pretty impressive. Not that he's any more impressive than me. I mean, when I get serious, I could lend myself a throbby snapper or 3. Oh, I know! Hey, this time it's my turn to catch a throbby snapper for you. I'm gonna go land that one. He looked at me, surprise flashing across his face at my suggestion. Huh? Did I say something weird?
If you want to, sure. But won't you get your nice clothes all muddy?
I looked down at myself and saw frills. Oh, fish! I nearly forgot! I'm dressed up today! If I'd been in my normal stuff, I could have whipped out the fishing tackle without even considering my clothes. I guess I'll just have to give up on it then. I could barely get the words out, my angler soul raging at me. I mean, where, throbby snapper? Right there! Right in front of me! Seeing the disappointment on my face, he went silent for a bit, thinking. Then said,
It should be all right if you're careful. I'll help make sure your clothes don't get dirty, too.
Oh, how brilliant! If I hadn't already been married to him, I would have proposed on the spot. Let's do this! Hang on, let me get my stuff together. Now I was fired up. I hurriedly pulled out my tackle and got everything in order. No matter what I was wearing, I always had my tackle box with me. That's just who I was.
Well?
Just a little more. I let my line dip into the water and settled in to wait for the fish to bite. Now my angler's intuition is pretty darn good, so I knew it hadn't gone far. It was still nearby. Oh, there! The instant I felt my rod dip towards the water, I pulled back on it. An extra pair of hands quickly reached out and helped pull too.
Careful.
Right. The fish put up a fight, but slowly, we reeled it closer. The pupil slipped around behind my back, reaching around my waist to help stabilize the fishing pole. Thump, thump, thump. My heart rate started going nuts, but now definitely wasn't the time for that. I had to focus. Now, pull! I shouted at just the right moment, and together we heaved on the line. With a splash, the throbby snapper jumped into the air. Heck yeah, we did it! The momentum from our pull sent me tipping backwards, and I promptly tripped over my feet to land.
Ouch. Are you okay?
Oh shit, so the main character's name is Mika.
Not
Okay.
on my butt? Because of our positions while reeling in the line, when I toppled over, I landed smack in the middle of his lap instead of the muddy ground. Yikes! I'm sorry!
It's okay, I'm fine.
Though my nice clothes had escaped certain doom, he was drenched in mud all the way up to his waist.
But more importantly, look over there.
He pointed to the side, where the throbby snapper was flopping and bouncing on the ground. That's right! I had to do something about the fish before it flopped itself right back into the water! Hang on, I'll get it! I hiked up my fancy duds and made quick work of securing the fish. Oh yeah! We got it! The catch complete, we both could finally take a breath and uncoil our cramped muscles. Man, was that intense! Who'd have thought we'd reel in a throbby snapper while on a date? That's so awesome!
luck or what? Was there any doubt? Glad you had fun today, Carmen. And look, you didn't get your clothes dirty either.
I blinked, looking down at my clothes. Because of him, they were as pristine as they were when we first stepped out of the house. You'd never know that we were fishing just a minute ago. But I put on my fanciest outfit to make this a special occasion, but somehow I feel like I'm still my normal old self. The plan was for me to be extra cute for him today, but before I knew it, I'd slipped back into my regular patterns, aside from my clothes. He looked at me, his eyebrows rising in surprise.
So, I think you look cute in that outfit. I think you look cute when you're fishing, too.
What? What is he saying?
I got a 2-for-1 deal on cute sides to you today, so it's like I hit the jackpot.
Hey! I knew he meant every word of what he said, but still, wasn't that a little too smooth?
I'm just saying it like it is.
Ugh, do you have to say stuff that makes my heart race? My cheeks felt so hot, I half expected them to burst into flames. I squirmed, weirdly embarrassed and frustrated at the same time.
It's probably the throbby snapper's doing. It's had an effect on us.
Sensing that I was about to slug him in the shoulder, he tactically retreated and offered me an out. Right, yeah, it's all the snapper's fault, that darn fish. I gratefully took it. He didn't need to know that my heart had been racing since well before we caught that fish. Nope, he'll never find out. But anyway, in the end, I'd say today's date was a massive success. We wound up fishing like always, but you know, maybe dressing up for a date every now and again isn't all that bad. The end.
Ain't that sweet? So, Papilla, what you got for us?
Moon viewing for 2. Once upon a time, there was a mermaid who knew baths were the #1 thing in the whole world. This mermaid thought, well, maybe the ocean wasn't where she really belonged. So she decided to go figure it out. She got a nice place to stay up on land. There, she did what anyone would do and opened a public bath. Then, all kinds of stuff happened. The mermaid met a person princely enough to be a prince. They even decided to get married. Every day was packed to the gills with happiness. Then, one day, she suddenly realized it was almost moon viewing season. The moon is always super duper cool on the night of a moon viewing. The mermaid was struck by a sudden idea. Baths were amazing. The moon was amazing. Wouldn't it be the best thing ever if both could be enjoyed at the same time?
I mean, yeah.
So, the mermaid immediately came up with a plan. A plan for some kind of combo foot bath and moon viewing party. Da-da-da-da!
I mean, I'll be honest. I have often thought about potentially looking into a open-air hot spring or whatever to just kind of soak in and enjoy the winter night air.
Oh yeah! I have the best ideas! If I do say so myself. Okay, first order of business was to go invite Chino and Sakuya. So off I went to find them. They went on and on saying things like, what a lovely event idea! And I bet you that'd be real romantic for couples. And then they were like, so how about you two newlyweds go enjoy it together? And then they smiled. Did they not want to go? Jeez, I still don't get why they said that. I mean, it's moon viewing season. The more the merrier. Still, maybe me and the man I love can't do things like that when we're oldie-weds. Do we lose our chance if we don't go and we're still shiny and new? I scrunched my face up and thought really hard. Then Shino said, since it's moon viewing season, why don't we take these? And gave me some specially made moon she and Sakuya looked really happy. Huh. I wasn't sure why. But moon viewing season was only once a year. I still thought if all of us could enjoy it together, it'd be the greatest. Still, Shino and Sakuya seemed really determined. So maybe it would be better to have a moon viewing with just him before our newness rubbed off. Well, better get to inviting him then. Hey! I've got the best idea! We should have a moon viewing together.
Ooh, is it that season already?
Yup, and the moon is gonna be extra super pretty.
Definitely don't want to miss that. I'll set aside time just for you. Thanks for inviting me, Pia.
He said yes right away, giving me a big bright smile. It made me want to give one back. Okay, time to get everything ready for the bestest moon viewing ever. I made sure to scrub-a-dub-dub the baths until they sparkled, so the moon wouldn't be embarrassed to see them. Then I added some fun decorations. I moved the cushions to just the right spot so we could sit next to each other and see the moon perfectly. Then I fiddled with this and twiddled with that, weirdly fidgety every time I remembered that he'd be coming later. For some reason, my heart was going all pitter-pat, and I hadn't even gotten in the bath yet. That's so weird. Maybe cleaning more will help.
You might have angina.
Oh, and my bags seem kind of funny too. They weren't sitting right. Could I fix them? How should I fix them? I don't know.
Hi, Pia. I hope I didn't keep you waiting.
He showed up while I was still busy fidgeting. Welcome. I was so weirdly nervous the words tripped over themselves coming out. His laugh bubbled up like spring water.
Thanks for inviting me.
We both sat down and put our bare feet in the bath. I still felt like little fishies were swimming around inside me for some really weird reason.
Oh, wow. These dumplings are incredible.
Aren't they? They're so good. Shino made them specially for us.
Man, a warm foot bath under the moon is such a genius idea. Dunking your toes in bath water is a great way to keep the chill away on autumn nights.
Isn't it? Let's make it an even bigger event next year. We can invite everybody and have the greatest time ever. I don't know if it was the dumplings or the bath. My nerves had all swam away. I was feeling much more relaxed. Wow, the power of baths was incredible.
The power of baths compels you.
Oh, or maybe it was the special dumplings that Shino made for us.
I knew it. She drugged us.
Pia, look. You can see the moon's reflection.
I looked down at the water and saw a big reflection of the round moon. I kicked my legs, and the ripples made it look like the moon wobbled and melted into the water. There! Now I put the moon in the water as a bath additive. It's a moon bath!
Your creativity always blows me away, Pia.
Really? I ducked my head shyly when he complimented me.
You really do love the moon, don't you?
Yeah, it's amazing!
I remember you telling me you wanted to be just like it.
Yup, because the moon is so bright and shiny and sparkly. Before, I was like a bubble. I couldn't help rising up from the depths of the sea, reaching for the bright surface, chasing the moon. Because I was a bubble, existing without water was impossible. The moon, the pretty shiny moon, was much too far away. Do you think I'm a little more like the moon now? I'm not like a bubble anymore. Those days are in the distant past. But the moon was still so far away. If I wasn't a moon, and I wasn't a bubble, then what was I?
Pia, you are the moon to me. You shine just as brightly.
I do? I wiggled. His words felt really ticklish to me. I mean, his eyes when he looked at me seemed way more shiny than I could ever be. Almost like the sun. The warmth and bright sweetness in them bubbled those words out of me before I realized it.
What do you mean?
You know, your eyes are super shiny, and when we talk, it makes me feel all shiny too.
So you are this game's Fuka. Sparkly.
He went quiet, thinking for a moment. Then a little blush lit up his cheeks.
Well, they do say that the moon's light is what it reflects from the sun.
Oh, that's perfect for us! We chatted and laughed, and our newlywed moon viewing was very romantic, if I do say so myself. I still want to get everyone together for a super big viewing party next year, but a private one for just the two of us? Yeah, that'd be great too. Once upon a time, a bubble floated up out of the sea to chase the moon. That sea bubble found the light of the sun, which brought out its own shine too. And so, that bubble became a moon. That's almost like a fairy tale, isn't it? The end.
Ain't that sweet? Alright, Rainbows, what you got for us?
Feeling appreciated.
I am Daria, the greatest artist in the world.
Rainbows have always been a source of inspiration, of course, but would you believe my life's only improved since I married my sidekick? Now the days are even more rainbow-tastic than ever. If there was a story about my life, it'd be an epic tale packed with how we first met, leading to us falling in love, and eventually getting hitched. But really, I think the biggest reason the two of us came together is because we were both here in Sharon's at the same time. If it wasn't for this town, our marriage would never have happened. I can't help but feel an unbelievable wellspring of gratitude for this wonderful place. A wellspring that will not be stoppered up either. I want to, no, I must express my thanks. But how, you ask? Obviously, I'll beautify the whole of Sharon's with my art. All the rainbows! I really am a genius if I do say so myself. They would be works by the world's greatest artist, me! After all, the entire town will doubtless be overjoyed that they've been graced with such priceless art pieces. Now then, with that decided, the next step is to determine my canvases. Time to go around town and ask where everyone would like to see my art. The most obvious place to start seems to be shop signs. They're everywhere you look around town and are meant to snare customers with their unique designs. Shops would surely be honored to have my art grace them. First up, the general store. I'm positive Hazel will be on board with my idea. Hazel! I want to express my boundless thanks to the town of Sharon's. Hazel blinked in surprise at my sudden declaration.
So let me give your shop sign a rainbow-colored upgrade.
I watched her eyes grow as round as saucers. And why wouldn't she be surprised? The world's greatest artist just generously offered to improve her shop sign. At least, that's what I thought. But I guess Hazel was too abashed at the idea. She said that everybody was used to the way it looks now, so she was fine with how it was. Then she blasted me with a big bright smile and said thanks for the thought, and sent me off with some yummy jam rolls. Huh, weird. It wasn't as if I'd given her any art pieces yet. But if she wanted to decline, then who was I to convince her otherwise? Oh well, I'll have to ask at another shop. I could always try over at Blaze's restaurant.
Yeah, you could.
Customers relax there and eat their fill, whiling away hours at their tables, so a focus piece inside would be key. The flashier, the better. After a moment's thought, my brilliant mind arrived at the idea of a giant statue that could sit smack in the middle of the room. Wouldn't that be perfect? Say, Blaze, I want to express my gratitude to everyone in Sharon's. Is it okay if I decorate the interior of your restaurant with the most enormous rainbow-rific statue? Like Hazel, Blaze's eyes popped wide open when he heard my offer. Who could blame him? I'm sure the sheer joy at the prospect of being graced with my art would astound anyone. But then Blaze thought a moment and said, this place can get really busy. I'd feel terrible if the statue was accidentally damaged in the bustle. And he turned me down. Can you believe that? And for some reason, he smiled at me and said, but don't worry,
I understand what you're trying to do. Thank you. Then he gave me some freshly baked cookies. Again, I was given a gift even though I didn't create a single piece of art for him. How does that make any sense? Rather put out, I lost all motivation to continue searching for more canvases. I took my jam rolls and cookies and went back home. I'm back! Sidekick came out to greet me, mystified at what I was carrying. I told him they were presents from Hazel and Blaze. I couldn't help but sound a little gloomy. I mean, I'd been turned down at every corner, not one new art project. He looked at me, a question in his eyes. See, I believe the two of us came together because of Sharon's itself. Without it, we wouldn't be married. My gratefulness for everyone here is boundless. I wanted to express that by offering my art. I went around asking if anyone wanted me to make a piece for them, but everyone just smiled and said thanks. No one actually wanted one of my pieces. No. Wait a minute. Is it that my art is too deep? Should I have offered to make something broader, more in line with casual tastes? But going against my beliefs just to make something more appealing? No. Then that wouldn't be my art anymore. No one said they wanted me to create a spectacular piece of art for them. I spent the whole day asking around, but everyone declined. In fact, instead of me giving them something, they all smiled and gave me something. It was incredibly, unbelievably, and bafflingly weird. In my distress, I couldn't help but shout. Really, it was so weird. But he just gave me a smile and said,
I think everybody was simply overjoyed that you said you wanted to thank them. Don't worry, they understood your gratitude just fine. You just did it with your words instead.
now it was my turn to stand and stare, flabbergasted. I did? They did? Then... so everyone did get my gratitude! I was worried there. Joy and relief flooded me. In fact, I was so happy I got that telltale little tickle fluttering in my heart. Yes, this feeling, these emotions. Rainbow!
Rainbow indeed.
Moved beyond words, I swept him up in a hug. My heart was filled with gratitude and rainbows filled to bursting. I had to express them. Ooh, I know. Say, how about I make you into my greatest work of art? I'll transform your entire body into rainbow glory. I haven't made anything yet today, and my creative spark is a raging flame. If you don't do something about it, I'm going to pop.
Here's a suggestion. You can make a life-size statue of the main character and do whatever you want to
Maybe
it.
some other time.
Really? Oh, boo. I was sure I'd be able to make it a masterpiece.
Ooh! Alternative suggestion, 2 life-size statues. One of the human form and one of the woolly form.
Oh well, the greatest masterpiece ever created was already right before my eyes, after all. I love you! Rainbow!
Rainbow indeed.
The masterpiece that is our love. The end.
Sakuya, wouldn't happen to have any more double blood, would you?
Cooking lessons. My hubby and I are right in the thralls of our happy, romantic newlywed bliss. And boy, did I get super lucky. My hubby's a man of many talents. Not only is he great at his job, he's pretty darn domestic too. Considering both of us have our own businesses to run, that we can split the house chores between us is a major blessing. Especially since, well, I'm awash at cooking. Like really, really, really bad at cooking. But you know, now that we're married, I do get hit with the occasional urge to make some good old-fashioned home cooking for him. Who wouldn't like to make something for their sweetheart and have them smile and say it's delish? So, yeah, every once in a great while, I'll get fired up and decide to give it a go.
You could start by trying to actually follow a recipe.
Okay, tonight, I'll make dinner. I'll roll up my sleeves and stride right into the kitchen. But, how
this turn out like that? Weird. How'd that happen? I followed the recipe exactly.
Oh. Well, I guess you just are one of those people that have negative talent. It's unfortunate. Don't worry. We all have a negative talent.
Oh, I'm so confused. My confusion will only mount until I hit a tipping point and...
For me, my negative talent is playing the guitar.
Yeah, dinner's on. I get stuck awkwardly plunking down a dish of who knows what on the table. I know just how amazing the food he cooks tastes. That makes it only that much more frustrating that my attempts come out as mystery glop at best.
Sakuya, don't worry about it. I'll handle dinner. It's fine, really.
He always says nice things when I fail so spectacularly, being extra conscientious of me. But that's not what I want, dang it! That's not it! It's complicated, okay? Sometimes I just want to make a yummy home-cooked meal for my beloved hubby. After a whole bunch of failed attempts, my frustration finally hit a tipping point and outspilled the whole story. This wasn't what I wanted to happen. I didn't want a gloomy dinner table and gentle offers for him to cook instead. I wanted to be able to make something delicious too. My annoyance was scrawled all over my face, I'm sure. He went quiet for a sec, thinking. And then...
How about you try just having fun with it?
It's not that simple! You know my mind blanks as soon as I step in a kitchen. Don't panic!
You can make one of your favorites then. You know it well, so it won't seem that intimidating. Plus, the finished dish is the reward.
That was a pretty dang good idea. Not only would I get to make something for my favorite person in the whole world, I get to eat something I love too. That was not just one, but two good reasons to give it a go, making it a doubly special deal. Okay, you've convinced me. Let's give it a try.
Hot pot.
I'd been pretty far down in the dumps, but now I felt like things would work out after all. So then we started talking about what to make. It's gotta be that, no question. After giving it a good think overnight, hey Mom, could you let me have some of that stuff? You know, the secret ingredient? The secret ingredient was, well, something I'm not at all confident about handling. I'm still not the greatest at seasoning things properly, so I decided there wasn't much for it but to ask for Mom's help. She did agree to share some with me, but then she gave me this long look in the eye and said I'd best learn how to make it myself next time. Oh well, I'd worry about that later. For now, as long as I had the secret ingredient, the rest would be easy peasy. All I had to do was chop up all the rest of the ingredients. With the secret ingredient in hand, I zoomed into the kitchen and started chopping away at the meat and veggies I need. They weren't chopped neatly, of course, but hey, they were chopped. Besides, I knew it didn't matter all that much with this dish. I took all the ingredients, plunked them on a plate, and voila! Soup's on! My voice rang out confidently as I called for my hubby.
So, what's for dinner tonight?
Seeing how chipper I was, I figure he was about 7 parts excited and 3 parts scared. But no gloomy pall hung over the kitchen this time. With as good as everything went, I was sure this dish had to be the yummiest he'd ever taste. Union stew!
Yeah, it looks like a hot pot to me.
I thunked a pot full of broth on the table and set all the ingredients I chopped up next to it. Exactly. Union stew. There was no way I could mess that up. I mean, all you gotta do is get the ingredients you want and chop them up. It's healthy, easy, and you get to cook it as you eat. Though it was only that easy because I asked Mom to share a batch of her broth with me. Come on, let's sit down and eat. We sat down at the table and got into a lively discussion as we dumped the ingredients into the pot. We chatted as it cooked, and once it was ready, we excitedly served it up nice and hot. All the fun and chatting is one of the best parts of Union stew, you know? There, see? I made dinner all by myself and it worked out!
Yep, and it's delicious.
I gave him a big, triumphant grin, and his face lit up with pride. It was so bright it made me me kind of blushy. I couldn't keep my eyes on his for more than a second before I had to look away. Not that I actually blushed, of course. My cheeks were red because of the hot pot. That's all. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
We should definitely do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we really should. It's like we're having a party.
I'll admit that this wasn't exactly the home cooking I was going for. But if it'd make him this happy, I could definitely see myself doing this again. I guess I'd best go ask Mom how to make broth sometime. The end.
Sophia?
A calls for calm.
Time to panic then.
The days were quite happy and full after we got married. And after some time, we conceived the child we'd always wanted. It was my first pregnancy, so of course there was a lot for me to process. But fortunately, things were progressing as well as anybody could hope. All that was left was to wait for the day our child decided to join us in the world. But there was still something weighing on my mind like a 10-ton weight.
Well, I'm off, Sophia.
Welcome home. That was the typical way I'd see him off to work in the morning.
Sophia, you've outdone yourself. This is scrumptious.
Yeah, it is quite disgusting. And that's a pretty normal conversation we'd have over dinner. To anyone overhearing us, it'd seem utterly disjointed. But to the two of us, it made perfect sense. That's because I have a confusing habit where I say the opposite of what I truly mean. I've been doing it since I was little. I'd wanted a way to make lies become the truth. I'd accidentally said something mean to my sister, and I wished it had been a lie. So I started flipping my words to the opposite of what I meant. And eventually the habit stuck. Fortunately, everyone here is familiar with my quirk, and they treat me like anyone else. I've been able to get along well enough despite my condition, all told. But it's not all raindrops and roses, especially when I meet new people. They always come out of our first conversations pretty shocked. He definitely did when we first met. To my surprise, though, he simply shrugged it off and said, "That's just who you are." He accepted me as I was, quirk and all. I doubt it will be as easy as that with our baby. Everyone has been kind enough to look out for me and help me as needed. Now it's my turn to look out for my child. I expect my ingrained habit will make it much more confusing for them to learn how to talk. Worse yet, they'll probably start to mimic me. If my child starts developing the same quirk, starts speaking in opposites, I don't know what I'll do.
How are you feeling today, Sophia? Up for a walk?
I was stewing over my dilemma one day when he invited me along on a stroll. That sounds like a horrible idea. I concentrated as I spoke, practicing saying the correct words to hopefully keep my quirk in check. He blinked, looking mildly surprised. But he didn't say anything further as he bustled off to prepare. What an ugly, beautiful day. I settled down in a particularly sunny glade in the nearby forest. The breeze wafted gently past, feeling good on my skin. For all that we agreed to go on a walk, I was still pregnant. We weren't going that far, and we stopped often. But the fresh air and sunshine were exactly what I needed.
Here, for you.
Just when had he made snacks for us? I couldn't say, but he had. A small batch of delicious cookies. It's rather embarrassing, but since my pregnancy started, my appetite had ballooned. Not that it had been, particularly small in the first place. He knew that well, of course. He was always fixing sweet snacks for me. Like these cookies. It's delicious. Sweet and crispy and oh so good. My baby couldn't taste things yet, of course, but Marjorie had said the emotions I feel when eating tasty food did reach them. Ah yes, the baby. Nibbling on my snack had reminded me of my child, which
got me thinking about my issue. And before I could stop it, a sigh slipped between my lips. I hoped he might not have noticed, but of course my ever-observant husband did. He looked at me, concern writ plain across his face.
Sophia, are you okay? This walk wasn't too much for you, was it?
Yes. I mean, no. I wanted to speak correctly this time and tried concentrating on the words, but what came out wound up awkward and confusing instead.
Then is there something worrying you? If you're up to sharing what's on your mind, I'd be happy to listen.
He gazed at me with wide, clear eyes that crashed through any barrier I tried to erect. I couldn't hide anything from that gaze. Not only that, the dual weight of carrying both a growing life and my incessant fear was starting to drag me down. See, I took a breath and explained my concerns over my opposite speech.
Yeah, they might start imitating you, huh?
I found myself picturing what it might be like to have a child who responded to me in the same manner I spoke. If I say I love them, they'll grin and say, I hate you. And when I make dinner, they'll look at me and say, it's yucky, right to my face. The longer I thought about it, the sadder I became. Tears pricked the corners of my eyes.
Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that, if I'm being honest.
What? I blinked in surprise.
I'm already used to you talking that way, so it doesn't seem like that big a deal.
He had a point. I did cheerily say I hate you and it's disgusting to him on a regular basis.
No one in town has a problem with it either. They all know how you are.
Besides, doesn't your father also opposite speech?
But what about first meetings and things like that?
Which then brings
People
up
will
the...
be shocked. I don't want our child to feel shunned or rejected.
Which does bring up the question of, did he start speaking that way because you started speaking that way? Huh.
Everyone's been there for you, Sophia. We'll just have to do the same and be there for them.
Really? Could I even pull that off?
Besides, it hasn't been that long since we first met, and look at us now. Relax. Things will be fine, you'll see.
He reached over and gently wrapped my hands in his. He was right, too. When I was little, Papa and Evelyn were there. Now he's always there for me, too. I stuffed a cookie in my mouth, desperately trying to hold back the tears that were threatening to fall. He watched me, a grin playing on his lips that told me he could see right through me.
Hey, Sophia, how'd you like the cookies? You worked hard on them.
He asked. They're disgusting. I never want to eat them again. I answered absent-mindedly, my thoughts elsewhere. Darn it, there went my quirk again. I hurriedly slapped my hands over my mouth.
I really don't see anything wrong with the way you talk. Weirdly enough, I always know exactly what you mean.
There went that sunny grin of his again. Does he really understand me so well? I gently put my hands over my rounded tummy. I'd be lying if I said I was completely convinced. But I did want to do everything I could to make sure our baby was happy. My opposite speech was a pain to deal with, yes. But in a way, it was all that much harder for me to lie. And you know, maybe being a little confusing wasn't all that bad. If nothing else, it made me unique. In fact, everything was going to be fine. My baby could come any day. I was completely ready for them. My mood much improved. I grabbed another cookie and began to munch. He looked at me, a question obviously hanging. Did he have something weighing on his mind, too?
Hey, Sophia, you ate all of my share, too.
Well, I'm full. The end.
We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm just gonna pause it here. I gotta go take care of something. Alright, sorry about that. Karina.
Worthwhile effort.
Try not to sleep through our wedding.
I love sleeping. I was never good at staying awake, which is great. I never want to in the first place. When I'm tired, what's wrong with sleeping until I'm not anymore? At least, that's what I used to do. It's different now. Before we married, and even for a while afterwards, I was always on the lookout for a moment I could sneak off and grab a quick nap.
You know, if you're constantly exhausted, you may want to get that looked at. It is an early sign of diabetes.
I made an effort to slack off less. Maybe. A little.
Along with various other potential ailments.
But because I married such a diligent guy, we never had much work pile up. My sleep patterns pretty much stayed the same. That all changed when we had our child. So sleepy. Better get the bottle ready. Babies have tiny stomachs. They can only hold so much at one time. Which means they need to be fed in small doses, frequently. And that means I have to make a bottle for them. Over and over. All day. And it's a lot of effort. But I wasn't going to let my baby go hungry. I had to step up. Oops. Looks like it's diaper change time. Bottle finished. I thought I was done. But no. Just my luck. A wet diaper has got to be uncomfortable. It rubs on a baby's tender skin, too. No slacking off on this one. There. Uh-oh. Are you going to cry? Maybe picking them up will make them feel better? Their little nose wrinkled, and they started to sniffle. So I lifted them into my arms and lightly patted their back. Since a baby is simply a little human, caring for them takes more than just food and a diaper change. On top of that, it all has to be repeated again and again, every few hours. Never mind enough time to sneak off for naps. I didn't have enough time to get a full night's sleep in the first place. Karina, go on and head to bed. I'll take care of the rest. My husband took our baby from me and gently shooed me away when he caught me futilely trying to fight off disease. He was always ready to jump in and help, doing his fair share to take care of our child, and then some. All that, on top of all the work he already did with his farm. How could he manage everything, with nary a complaint?
Well, the watering and harvesting is mostly taken care of by my animals. Because that makes sense. The selling is, I guess, handled by your mother now that you're not coming to pick it up.
Watching him change the diaper, I could see hints of fatigue around the corners of his eyes. He'd always had way more stamina than me, but it looked like even he was running on fumes. Raising a child was rough.
Oh, stamina? Well, for that, I just grinded the crap out of my various skills, got me more RP.
I'm starting to get now why Mom insisted I take so much time off from the store. Huh? Really? That much? Yes, time to slack off and nap. Karina, I bet you're thinking you can just slack off and nap now, aren't you? No. Darn, saw straight through me. Ah, well, after your baby is born, you'll learn soon enough exactly why I'm giving you so much time off. She gave me a knowing smile, and she was right. Now I do know exactly why I got all that time off. I mean, never mind trying to run a store when you have a newborn baby. Just getting all your basic daily life stuff done in a single day is next to impossible.
You're impossible.
Raising a kid is way harder than standing around watching over a store for a few hours. And way heavier on the responsibility, too. Did Mom go through this with me? Maybe she's actually secretly kind of amazing?
But I couldn't have been that difficult to take care of. Maybe it was a tiny bit easier for her. That said, it's not like my baby is making me tear my hair out either. So she probably didn't have it that much easier, if at all. Let's be real. Anyone would have their hands full raising their kids.
Yeah.
Whew. How long is this gonna last, anyway?
At least 3 years. The sleepless nights for about a year-ish.
Karina, look at the bottle. I nearly jumped out of my skin when I heard him mumbling around a yawn. I turned to look and found them both tucked in bed, sound asleep. They must have climbed in and fallen asleep while I was letting my mind wander. Sheesh. He's taking care of our baby even in his dreams? How is he even real? So cute. Both of them. Him and our baby. They were the most precious things on the planet to me. Yeah, I spent most of the day in the sleepy days, but my heart was always full and warm. Sleep sounds divine. I needed to get up again before long, so it'd really be more like a power nap. I missed the days when I could sleep as much as I wanted, whenever I wanted. But I loved my life now too, surrounded by my precious family, even if it meant I didn't get all the sleep I wanted. Sleeping whenever the urge hit me was great, but I think I can deal with the way things are now too. I mean, our baby is only going to be little for a few years. I want to enjoy them while I can.
Good way to think about it.
Oh, it's rough not being able to sleep. Good night. I flopped onto the bed. The old familiar warm fuzziness of sleep washed over me. Yeah, I am putting in a ton of effort. For me, anyway. But they say it's important to take breaks, too. So, just for the next few minutes, good night. The end.
Alright, 2 left. Let's do it, Raven.
Just another day. This is a story about a typical, ordinary day.
Morning, Raven.
Morning. I wasn't quite awake yet, but I still made breakfast for us like usual.
Well, aren't you in a good mood today?
He smiled down at our baby. He got a smile back. Our baby smiles so much, you'd never know they were mine. I told my husband once that I thought our child took mostly after him. When I said that, he replied,
Really? I'd say they resemble you way more, actually. You have the same smile.
He seemed rather perplexed. Maybe it's just easier to see your partner's traits in your children. I don't know. It's ready. Let's eat.
Oh, pancakes. I can't wait to try them.
Those are some thick-ass pancakes.
He enthusiastically dug in, taking a big bite. That look. It was that look of joy every morning that melted away any remaining sleepiness I felt. Not for you. Our child had been reaching with curious fingers for my husband's stack of pancakes.
Looks like someone wants to join us. We can eat breakfast together once you're a little bigger, kiddo.
He slid his plate out of reach. This was how things went since our baby was born. Quiet, but you still had to be on your toes. I expect it will only get worse as they grow bigger. But that might not be a bad thing. I was almost looking forward to it.
I mean, the moment a child learns how to walk, you've got to keep an extra close
With
eye
breakfast
on
done,
him.
it was time for me and our child to see him off to work.
Be back later.
Take care. Our little one, sitting in my arms, clumsily waved a hand and said, bye-bye.
That little wave brought a radiant grin to his face, just like it did every morning. With obvious reluctance, he turned away and headed to work. I usually work at the smithy, but Gaius insisted, strongly, that I take time off for a while. I expected to be bored, but with a baby to watch and house chores to do, my days were busier than I expected. It's nice out today. Maybe I'll do laundry. It was a clear, bright day, perfect for drying the washing. I went outside, a basket full of wet clothes in my hands, and our child toddling behind me.
Did you come to walk me back? What a sweetheart you are.
I'd hung most of the laundry on the line when I heard a voice from the other side of the fluttering sheets. Startled, I pulled the sheets aside to see my husband strolling back home already, our child settled happily on his hip.
Wee! Upsy-daisy!
He held our little one up high over his head, both of them giggling in delight. My heart warmed at the sight. It felt like I was glowing as bright as a day perfect for hanging laundry. We stayed busy finishing our daily chores, and before we knew it, the sun had set.
Phew. Wasn't today just great?
He looked pleasantly tired as he got out of the bath, his hair dripping.
Oh, the sheets feel amazing. Freshly laundered, I bet, right?
He flopped down and rolled himself up in them, a satisfied smile on his face. That grin made me glad I'd gone to the effort of washing them.
Somebody's sleeping like, well, a baby.
He peeked at our child, lying next to him on the bed. They must have tuckered themselves out with a long day of playing, or maybe the clean sheets were just that comfortable. Regardless, they were sound asleep.
I've never understood that idiom, sleeping like a baby. So you mean waking up every 5 to 10 minutes to scream my head off because I'm either hungry, can't sleep, or soiled myself?
Oh, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, our baby was adorable. Every day I looked at them and realized how blessed I was. There was no way to know if someone like me, someone only half human, could raise a child properly. But every day they've brought me so much joy that it far, far outweighed my doubts.
Oh, so Raven is half human.
I want to do everything I can for them.
Raven.
With a warm gaze and outstretched hand, the one I love called my name. I went over and lay down next to him. Cuddled up against him, I remembered all the times I wished people would stay away from me. I was so terrified of ending up alone that I let no one close. Back then, I'd completely forgotten how much warmth and joy you could find with someone by your side. Now I want this happiness to last forever.
Good night, Raven.
Good night. I'm sure tomorrow will be another wonderful, ordinary day. The end.
One story left. Just this one time. Shara, let's see what you got.
Bouquet of happiness. Every day is filled to the brim with happiness. Getting to marry the one I love most was a dream come true. But to welcome a wonderful child into the world on top of that? People talk about bursting with joy, but I never thought that'd be me one day. I'm so happy that I hardly know what to do with myself. Coming, sweetie. Wait just a minute. Every time our little one calls out Mama, I feel another flower bloom inside my heart.
Look at you getting all the attention, Shara.
And oh, how my beloved husband smiled brilliantly at me just now. My heart's going to explode from flowers at this rate. I wasn't sure if I could contain all this joy I felt. I knew if I looked in a mirror right now, I'd probably see blossoms sprouting from my ears.
but all that fizzy happiness couldn't stay inside me. There was no way I'd be able to stand still, so I poured it all into making dinner. I hope you're hungry! Tonight we're having omelet rice with seafood gratin and pickled turnips. And there will be pancakes for dessert.
Wow, you pulled out all the stops, huh?
Sure did. Dig in. There's plenty to go around, so eat as much as you want. I hope you enjoy every bite.
Is it just me, or are those pancakes getting thicker every time?
But dinner alone wasn't going to soothe all of this thrumming energy inside me. I had to do more.
Whoa, the whole house is clean as a whistle. The place is practically sparkling.
I went a little overboard cleaning today. Our child bounced excitedly around the house, shouting, "Sparkly, sparkly!"
Oh, don't you go turning into a Fuka.
Yeah, it's very sparkly. Mama did a great job.
Yeah, no, it's too much. If you two smile like that at me again, I'll get so full of happy energy I'll pop.
Don't get me wrong, I'm happy, but I hope you don't feel like you have to do it, okay? Can't have you overworking yourself.
He must have caught my eyes widening because he looked worried. I quickly shook my head. No, I feel great. I'm so happy right now that I can't sit still. I have to do something or I'll rattle right out of my skin. Yes, I'm not the least bit tired. In fact, I've got more energy than I know what to do with. He put his chin on his fist and thought for a moment.
You know what? How about we switch things up for a change? What do you say to all three of us going out for a stroll together?
Leave it to him to come up with a great idea. I had more or less barreled through all my chores already, and now had nothing left to do. But more than that, the idea of the three of us all going for a stroll together was just too lovely to pass up. I enthusiastically agreed, nodding so quickly that my head felt almost fit to bobble right off. And so, we decided to set off on a stroll. My perfect little family and I stepped out into beautiful weather and made our way to the flower field. Surrounded by my favorite flowers and my favorite people, I was so happy I felt like I could pop. Suddenly, our child toddled up to me and handed me a fistful of flowers, mouth wide in a toothy smile. Thank you, sweetie. What a thoughtful gift. I could feel a grin spread across my face in response. Seeing mine, our child's giggling, they trotted off to pick flower after flower, bringing each one back to me and making me smile even more.
I want to get in on this too.
Not content to lose his standing in my good graces, he came up to me and handed me some beautiful blossoms. Soon enough, my arms were filled to overflowing with all the flowers they brought to me. Oh, these are all so lovely. They would make the most stunning bouquet. The words bubbled out of my mouth, pushed by a wave of glittery joy. He smiled.
Why don't you join us in picking flowers then? We'll get a bunch and take them home to make a bouquet together.
Oh gosh, why didn't I think of that? It's the most brilliant idea ever! Genius! My husband's a genius! Our child jumped and waved, eager to lead me over to the best flower patch. He and I each took one of our child's hands in our own, and we wandered about the flower field choosing all the loveliest blooms. We carried them all home and put them together in an enormous bouquet that I called our bouquet of happiness. Made by our family together, there was never, ever going to be another like it in the world. I would take care of the precious bouquet for as long as I could. When I gazed at it, all that happy, bouncy energy that had filled me calmed into a soothing glow of joy. Perhaps it was because I'd taken that feeling that had filled me and made it into something physical. I think it's because we all made a bouquet together. That was all I said, and he smiled back at me. We promised then that whenever I felt full of happiness fit to burst again, we would all make another bouquet. Together, as a family. The end.
And we'll see y'all next time, as we have brought all the another episodes to a close. Cheers, y'all.